training camp. So I am very happy to be back here. I know you guys have been holding it down.
Yeah.
I know you guys have been holding it down. I had to go celebrate with my wife just so I can I'm gonna give her a little shout out, right?
Yeah, there you
25 years of marriage,
man.
And so we had to go and we got away for a few days to go and celebrate 25 years of marriage. So I couldn't be on the shows with you guys.
I've been divorced almost 18 years.
I am 33 years old, so I mean, we're all
you have
peers.
a way of making me feel old.
We're all peers. I tell Brian all the time, I was born in 92, and he always said, my first day in Green Bay was 1992.
It was.
Oh, 92 was a good year.
It's my 27th birthday, December 12, 1991.
Let me say this. I don't want to talk about the documentary too much because I'm still boycotting Jerry till we sign Micah, but it's like the first 7 episodes, I'm like, damn, boy, it must have been cold in the 90s. Man, the 90s must have been fun. But episode 8 was all the stuff I was alive for, and I was like, man, this sucks. So shouts out to the documentary and all that kind of stuff, man.
That documentary is really, really good.
It's really good.
I got to see an advanced copy of it, and so I was trying to hold back, not talking to people about it, but I was like, man, this thing is really, really good.
Yeah.
Really good.
Good documentary, though. Shouts out to him.
And the funny part is I lived through it when I wasn't a Cowboys fan. I was an Oilers fan at that point. I grew up in Houston. So I was an Oilers fan, and so I was in college. My roommate in college was a huge Cowboys fan.
Yeah.
So we always were going back and forth, Houston, Dallas. Yeah. So having to rewatch that, some of that was a little painful for me because there was some moments where I was like, man, if you say another word about them Cowboys, we're gonna have a problem.
I missed it. I was a baby. I was Google Gaga.
Yeah.
We here now though.
We are.
Super Bowl this year. Count it.
All right, let's go.
That's a lot.
No, let's do that. All right, so here's what I want to start with. Today we're going to talk about the roster, and the Cowboys have a lot of things, a lot of decisions to make on this cut. I think cuts have to be out by tomorrow at 3 or 4?
3 o'clock.
3 o'clock. All right, so by tomorrow, Cowboys will have all their cuts finalized. You probably, if history is any indication, you'll probably start to hear those trickle out over the next 24 hours between today and tomorrow, but they'll have their final list by 3 o'clock tomorrow. Before we get into roster cuts, and we'll go through all of that, I first want to talk about Trayvon Diggs. We found out over the weekend that he did pass his physical. He is added to the 53-man roster. The expectation is that he's now available to the Cowboys. My question for you guys is, what does he need to do at this point in order to be active week 1, which week 1 for the Cowboys is early. It's next Thursday night. Thursday night football against the Eagles.
Everyone needs to understand that just because we pulled the PUP designation off Diggs doesn't mean he's fully playing in week 1 or week 2 for that matter. Have to remove that to let him participate in mock games and start the ramp up in practice. But all while he remains running here tomorrow and Wednesday and Thursday while everybody else is off. This is the 5th week of conditioning. By the second game, he will be almost 8 weeks of conditioning. That's exactly what they're thinking about this guy right now. It's not really about week 1, but potentially week 2. But they're trying to get him 8 full weeks of conditioning in order to be a part of this football team in the coming weeks.
Brian brought us with the golden phone. Shouts out to you, sir. But it all makes sense, right? Because once you think about Pup and how long Pup is, then that just means that they're optimistic about him coming back sooner than later. Just me outside looking in. I don't have sources in my phone, Brian, but I was thinking this was going to be like a week 9, week 10 type thing. So the Cowboys will be short at corner for a long amount of time. It just means to me week 3 or 4 or so like that, then maybe Diggs will come back sometime, get some plays, 12 reps, 15 reps, and maybe by week 5 we'll be full go. But it's good news in general to have him back because this cornerback room, everybody needs hurt. So we need all the bodies you can get.
How much does this complicate their ability to cut the roster, knowing that they'll have to go into the season and potentially a game, 2, 3, whatever that number is, they'll have to make it work without Trayvon Diggs? Yeah,
they're going to have to go short at a couple of spots is what they might have to do. You might see them we've talked about wide receiver, and it's 5 or 6. It looks like it's going to be 5 is what. So that means 1 less right there. Tight end, people were thinking maybe 4. It looks like it's going to be the 3 with Hunter Lipke kind of playing. So they're going to have to rob from one position to kind of make sure that they carry enough at the cornerback spot. I think there are going to be some surprises at corner. I mean surprises as of guys that we kind of thought were part of this, going to be potentially part of this roster, and I think of a guy like with Hall. Keeman Hall. He was a guy that was through training camp was the starting nickel. As conversations are starting to kind of get through, Keeman Hall might be a guy that's released, and then all of a sudden, now you're in a situation where Childers is the guy, and but so it's a really a fluid situation. I haven't heard anything about trades or anything like that or adding. I'm sure they're going to try and play the waiver wire if they can. This won't, when we get to the cut and we start to talk about, well, here's the team on Tuesday. The team on Tuesday will not be the same team on Friday. It's just not going to happen.
Yep.
So it does potentially, but they have to account for guys that they're going to have, like Micah Parsons. If Micah Parsons doesn't practice this week, likely Micah Parsons is not going to play in the game on next week. So with all that being said, then these guys become inactive players, the game day inactives, but you got to be able to account for those guys for the roster.
So Brian, let me just ask you this. When you were doing this and y'all was on the board and y'all was writing it all out, was it broken down by corners and safety? Huh?
That was a little shot.
Because it's old, because he got to write it on the chalkboard and all that.
Well, we had tags.
Okay.
We had tags.
Okay.
Yeah, we had tags. But you're right. No, the way we used to do it.
Sure.
Matter of fact, I'd love to have a chalkboard again, like we used to be able to write on a chalkboard. The thing that we would do with the tags is you would have your guys that you had questions about. You'd still have them as part of the 53.
Sure.
And then you'd have the guys, okay, these are the guys we know we're going to move on from, but then you'd have them as all together.
Mm-hmm.
The corners would be with the safety. So you always thought of the defensive line as 10 or 9. You always thought the
That's what I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
So
you always thought about the number of by position.
So that board, was it corners and safety, or was it just DBs?
DBs.
Because I think that'll make it kind of weird. Because guys like Israel, right?
Yeah.
Where do we place him? Because in the preseason games, he was doing a lot of safety things.
Yeah.
I don't think they carry more than 4 safeties, right? Marquise Bell,
I don't think they do either.
Wanye, and then your first 2 guys. So where do you place it? And he's a guy that kind of got brought back a little bit, so I was assuming Israel was going to be a big part of this thing. He played a lot of preseason snaps, a bunch, and that means something
deep
to me.
into the second half of the third preseason game, which usually you don't have guys out there that you're thinking are going to make the team, but who knows?
Who knows? That says a lot to me. So however they cue this thing up, there's a bunch of people on social media saying, well, there's no way Andrew Booth is going to be here. Even if he is here,
he's here.
There's no promise that he'll be here week 5 or so.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
right now,
Booth
is here because you need those bodies.
Exactly.
Josh Butler's not here, and Savon Ravel, we're still going to have to figure that out. But there's a lot more corners that's going to make this thing early than later.
As you mentioned, Savon Revel, is he a guy that at this point, the likelihood he gets on the field before, let's say, half the season is done is probably not likely, or do you think it is likely? Have you heard anything about time frame for him?
No, there never was a time frame with him, and it was okay, put it this way. I know in the summertime, once he signed and he was working here with Britt Brown and with the training staff, that there was a possibility that he was going to be ready for the season. There were some talks or some whispers, but that was just talk and whispers. That wasn't anybody telling me, from the training staff, oh, he will be ready week 1 or he'll be ready at training camp. It was going to be a process throughout. They picked up the rehab. They picked up the rehab late in the actual rehab. I mean, he'd been working here in Dallas, but he's a college player. He'd been working with another group. The rehab here with the Cowboys was different than what they were doing. So they never had any expectations. I think we, as the media, had expectations like, oh, you count the months, he should be available and all that. So, I think that's a situation where if they get him back, it'll be, now maybe we all know how the season works, the attrition of the season. You could lose guys along the way. That might be, instead of having to go out and get somebody, here's a guy that you plug him in and then you're ready to go that way. I think that's how we have to look at him right now, is as the season wears on, is he a guy you plug in, which I think that would be the case.
Brian, would you want to hold on to him for that reason if your last name was Jones? Or would you just sit him out for the rest of the season and just fully recover and not even thinking about it? Because this cornerback is hard already.
Sure.
And then cornerback when your knees hurt, and then cornerback when you're a rookie for the first time out there. The Revel that we saw on film 2 years ago, is not going to be the guy day one, I think, personally. Because even guys like Kalen Carson will show you the college film is not going to always be the first year film. And a big part of cornerback is confidence. I don't want to put him out there and he's fresh off recovery, maybe 5 weeks or so, and he's still not the guy that we think he is. If it was me, and nobody cares what I think, just sit him out. He would be the perfect IR guy. And then maybe next year he's been lifting weights all off season, recovering all off season, and then he can start camp and get a full camp. And then we can go. I'm not sure if I just like him sitting out for a year and a half, 2 years, and then showing up. All right, Kansas City, go get him. I would sit him out, and maybe a guy like Kalen Carson could, benefit from that. But
yeah, we need to see, because he's listed, his designation is non-football injury. We have to see. I don't think you could go from non-football injury to IR.
What does that mean, Brian?
That means that he got hurt somewhere else,
right?
And then so I need to figure out a lot of these designations mean you can do one but not the other. Maybe they can keep him on the non-football injury list and then navigate it for there. There might be a possibility that he can come back. I'll check at the break where that is, that he if like I say, but he can stay on that list. But what's the chance of bringing him back? Me personally, I'd like to see him get some experience. I would. I mean, it doesn't seem with Carson, things kind of backfired with him a little bit. And by the way, that's another one that they're kind of working through right now. We'll see if, in fact, that he's here or not. But yeah, if it was me personally, I'd like to see the kid play.
Yeah,
or just get the experience of practicing, even if he's inactive every week. Just get the experience of him practicing with everybody and getting a feel for that. So he's just not, his first year he's completely isolated from everybody.
Yeah, I can't remember the player that we were talking about at the time, but I had a similar question years ago, Vach, that I asked one of the Cowboys coaches, and the response I got was, you only get better playing football by playing football.
Yeah.
And so even though, I get your point that, and I actually thought that way too, but the way you're like is like, you don't have to throw him in the fire and say play all the snaps.
But at least
there are ways to have him practicing. There are ways to have him maybe in the game for a few snaps here and there. Maybe you get him out on special teams. He's just kind of reacclimating himself to football. The point is, there are things you can do with him to reacclimate him and not expect to have him to take a full load. And those things are better than him sitting on IR.
Right.
I think that's the point.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we're going to cut this roster. Cowboys can listen in. We'll help them get this all settled out, and we can figure out what this 53-man roster should look like. We'll do that when we come back. This is DallasCowboys.com radio.